Hey, what's up everybody? I'm so glad that you are here. I'm super excited for today because today we're diving into 6 techniques that I use to craft relational, meaningful wedding films. One of the things I've spent a lot of time in my business, in my career working on is how to craft films that aren't just beautiful, aren't just pretty, aren't just like cinematic, but films that are truly meaningful, both to the couple. Like when you receive your film, I want you to be like, oh my gosh, that's us. This is our story. This is like how we interact with each other. This is our relationship. This is true to who we are, but also for like people who have no idea who this couple is. Like if you just like click on this video on YouTube, I want you to feel like you're actually part of the journey and you're like going on this journey, just like you're watching a movie, like you get invested in the characters. That's how I want my wedding films to feel. And so today I'm diving into 6 techniques that I use to craft meaningful relational wedding films. I'm super excited to kind of dive into this and share some of my process and all that. So I'm gonna make coffee real quick and then let's dive into things. So one of the first things I learned as a videographer is the importance of showcasing my couples and their story, not my artistic vision. Now, obviously I bring a certain perspective to the table and my couples book me because of the work that I do and they've seen previous films that I've done, all that kind of stuff. But what I really try to make the priority on a wedding day is like, who is this couple? What is their story? And how can I showcase them authentically? And for me, what that means is like, I spend a lot of time learning my couples. So I send out a lot of questionnaires that ask a lot of questions that have nothing to do with the wedding. Like questions like, what is your favorite ice cream? And like, do you have pets? And like, what's on your bucket list? You know, what's your favorite thing that you've done together as a couple? And like, what are some of the things you guys have been through that have like helped you grow stronger as a couple? And all these things that like have nothing to do with the details of the wedding or the venue or any of those things, but help me learn like, who is this couple? What are the things that they value? What's important to them so that I can showcase that authentically. Now, obviously I bring a style. I bring a certain creative eye to every film that I create, and I want to be true to that. Like I want to create work that like is consistent. I want to create work that like feels like it's mine, so that when you get, you know, a video from me, you're like, oh yeah, Josh made that. Like it's obvious. My first priority on wedding day is not, okay, how can I achieve my vision for this wedding? It's how can I authentically learn my couple so that I can showcase their story, their journey, their personalities. The film is not about the filmmaker, the film is about the couple. And so prioritizing their story over your own vision is going to go so far into creating a meaningful project. So kind of along those lines then, authenticity for me is always greater than cinematography. Now, obviously I want like cool shots and I love, you know, that cool drone shot or like a really cool B-roll, you know, element from a camera, but that's never the priority. The priority is authenticity with the couple. So what that means is like back to my previous point about learning the couple, I spend a lot of time like learning who, like what your personality and what your style is. Like, are you a super energetic, joyful, exuberant kind of couple? Or are you like more intimate, relaxed, down to earth, quiet, all that kind of thing? Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to put you in a position. I don't want to like pose you in a certain way. I don't want to like set up a certain shot because like it'd look cool on camera. I want to do everything that I do to bring out who you are as a couple and to help you showcase yourself authentically. The third thing that's super helpful for me is the idea of chronology. A couple doesn't walk into the wedding day and just start. Like they've had a relationship for a long time. If you're getting married, like you've known your significant other for a good amount of time, whether that's months or that's years or sometimes decades. You've known this person that you're going to be marrying for a long time. You've already kind of like had a bunch of chapters in your relationship, and this is just a new one. This is like a big event, a celebration of your love and of the relationship you've already had and what's coming. What I try to do with my editing for wedding films is to actually showcase the wedding as an unfolding event. Like I don't really jump around a ton between like the beginning and the end of the middle of the day. I try to like just show the day as it unfolds. The reality of like storytelling is a good story has like an arc, and a good story has like tension and release. And like some of those beautiful like release moments are like the first look, the first kiss. And so what I try to do is I try to not just scatter those like big hit moments in, I try to build up to those all the way through. And so a lot of wedding films that I've seen lately have had the kind of like persona of what I would call like an extended highlight, where they start with like a cool slow motion shot of the dress, and then they cut to like the bride coming down the aisle, and then it goes to like some getting ready details, and then a couple of things at the reception, and then back to the dress and the couple, and just kind of like jumps all over the place. And for me, like that screams, this is a highlight. This is a teaser film to kind of like show you a bunch of clips from the wedding day, but I don't want my films to feel like that. I oftentimes build little teasers into the beginning of my films. So oftentimes the first like 15, 20, 30 seconds of my wedding films will kind of show you really what's coming in the wedding film. It'll show you like who the couple is, what the location is, some of the details, that kind of stuff. And then as soon as like the music drops in, the narration starts, all that kind of stuff, then it's like, boom, getting ready, first look, ceremony, bridal party, reception, send off, like all that kind of stuff all the way through. One caveat here is I do try to build that story arc and build that tension up to some of those release points, like a first kiss, a first look, or like the open dancing elements. And sometimes I will pull some things out of order to kind of serve that process, but it's always about the story. It's always about building that tension, showcasing the unfolding aspects of the day so that we can get to that drop point, boom, release, joy, celebration, love, emotion, all those things. Building that element of chronology, even if it's like pseudo chronology, is super, super helpful and allows people to be immersed in the film, resonate with the story, and follow it from point A to point B to point C, all the way to the end. The fourth thing that's super important for me in like building meaningful wedding films is music. So honestly, I probably spend like 2 days just working on music. So I'll build like if there's vows or narration, that'll happen first, and then the music. So really, I have an entire film laid out before I ever put any visual components in. The interesting thing about that is like you can really get a feel for like where is this film going, how is the mood, how's the overall vibe of this, is it like super energetic or is it more intimate and laid back, like how does this feel? And there's been films where I've built the entire film, I've started adding a bunch of visual components, and then I've gone, yep, this doesn't fit, deleted the entire soundtrack and started again. So like if you're a video editor, take the time. It might be days, honestly, like, but take the time to get the music right, because the music sets the entire tone, the entire mood for the film, and then those visual components that you stack on top of it only accentuate that. One of the things I do through most of my films is include an element of like spoken word. So whether that's like vows or like explaining the story of the couple, when I'm doing that, one of the things I try really hard to do is integrating like visual components that reflect what's being spoken in the story. I will like look around the reception facility and be like, hey, like what picture frames do they have? A lot of times couples will add photos of those important trips, of those important moments into their decorations. And like when you can cut to like a photo of that specific event when the couple's chatting about that event in the film, that can be hugely, hugely helpful. Another thing that can be super helpful is also like following the rhythm of what the couple's actually saying. So like for instance, there was a certain film where the story was pretty rigid. It was pretty like actually kind of rough and hard, and the couple had gone through a lot of hard things. And then there came a point where the groom's like, I just felt free. And what I did was I switched my editing style and the music. So I was cutting very, very rigidly with the beat, and then all of a sudden it turned and everything's like free flowing, clips are kind of back and forth, in and out. And like it just allowed like this release when he was talking about that. So tying what's being spoken to what's being seen and what's being heard in the music can be a massive, massive help as you seek to build a more meaningful film. And the final aspect of things is sound design. I spend quite a lot of time on sound design. And I will turn off the music track and be like, hey, like if I couldn't hear any music, what's the vibe that I would want to set here? Like how would this feel? So if we're out in the woods, I want to have wind, I want to have birds, I want to have, the rustling of leaves and that whole kind of thing. If we're in a city, I want to have those components so that even if you turned off the music, you'd still feel like you were in the environment. So to recap, the 6 things I use to craft meaningful wedding films for my couples is I want to tell my couple story, not showcase my own vision. I really want to value authenticity over cinematography, chronology, and like actually trying to showcase the story arc of a day. Music completely sets the tone for all of that. Tying like vows and visual elements all together can be huge in like just immersing you in that story, as can sound design and building all those elements together so that when you press play, you feel like you're connected to the couple, you feel like you're connected to the environment and the venue, and then you can immerse yourself, lose yourself. That's for me, if I can get someone who has no idea who a couple is to watch a film and walk out the other side being like, oh my gosh, I was sobbing at the end of this film because I felt like I was on this journey with them. That's a success in my book. So anyway, that's a little bit of the insight on how I craft films, and if you're a videographer, how you can do so as well. Hope this helps, and if you have any questions about this, feel free to leave those in the comments, as well as if you have suggestions for future ideas, future videos, all that, I'd love to hear those. If you're interested in this kind of content, feel free to subscribe and follow along, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much.